Welcome to the real journey of the entrepreneur. The journey of any entrepreneur begins with a decision, then writing down your vision, then the execution of that vision. It is not for the faint of heart. It is for those who understand how powerful your mind is and that you can truly create the life that you deserve. It does require a unique formula that includes belief in yourself, a lot of consistency, connecting with an OG, a lot of tears, missing out on a few events and things, and taking a whole lot of risks that will allow you to see your vision and dream come to pass. This journey of the entrepreneur is from the perspective of a wonderful mother, a business owner, whose goal is to break generational barriers and normalize the process of wealth building and financial wellness through entrepreneurship, all while creating a social and give back along the way. I am sharing this journey with you and invite you to share this process with me. Let's do this together. It's my own, but you have to feel comfortable to own it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I will always support you.
Thank you.
Welcome to our fourth annual Full Circle Business Brunch.
This room is small enough but big enough that you can connect with someone. And that is the intention of the Full Circle Business Brunch experience. Being in business is not a competition. We all can win at all levels.
We come from a lot of poverty. How do you break out of a scarcity mindset as a small business?
If you keep it positive, positive will always keep you. The idea that I'm always broke, I never have enough money. You can easily say, I don't have enough money yet. And that changes how you then move forward with your next financial decision.
I'm here to help educate you all on things that you may not have known about, because we find that there's a lot of suffering that goes on when people don't know about stuff.
When you're entering into a business relationship, it's still a relationship. So you want to maintain a good rapport with whoever it is that you're transacting with. You're hiring an attorney to not only protect you, but to also be the bad guy in certain situations.
We can help you connect to people who are looking for jobs. We have 200,000 people in our job bank. We're here to help the businesses out there. We're doing really the heavy lifting in our economy.
This is my fourth time attending this event. Each year it gets better and better. And it's really inspiring to see what she's doing for the community and working with the youth.
Why I wanted to start my business is because my mom was working too hard, right? I want to have my own business, my own clothing to wear on the street.
This is an amazing, amazing event with lots of knowledge for business owners, business starters, and just who's thinking about getting in the industry. Hope this continues to be an annual event for those who want to learn more about business and get into the business space.
Thank you for being a part of this transformational experience.
A brighter day tomorrow will bring. Oh.
Well, hey there, good people. Hey there. Hey there, good people. I hope that you are doing wonderful and well, and that you are keeping yourself in good old peace, right? Welcome to another episode of The Real Journey of Entrepreneurship. My name is Anita Pierce, and I am your host and producer of the show. And today is another day, another way that we are educating ourselves to learn more about what small businesses are engaging in, even during this time. 2025, as we are recording this episode, has been, needless to say, one of those where you have to figure out your next opportunity. And just because something is happening within a space, one of the things that we believe within the 11375 culture is that opportunity is available if you know where to look. That's what we believe. And one of the things that I can tell you is that through the space of being creative and wanting to work your vision, it becomes one of those things where you just have to figure out, what am I going to be courageous in doing? And so, to my next guest that is courageous enough to have the conversation with us, it becomes one of those things where what's next, what's good, what's happening in the space of business consultancy. And my next guest is no different. So I am going to introduce to this audience another solid business owner who is based out of, guess what? Guess where? Brooklyn, right? Brooklyn, unless I'm wrong. Hey, Terrell. No.
Yeah, you're all right. Hey, Anita, how you
All
doing?
right.
Thanks for the intro.
Yes, Brooklyn is back.
Yes,
Brooklyn is back.
Brooklyn in the house.
Brooklyn is in the house. So I am so excited to have you here, Terrell. And I want you to introduce your story to those who want to know more about how you're making impact through your consultancy. Do tell.
Yeah, definitely will. So hey everybody, name is Terrell Belfield. Um, So I guess I'll start by trade or by degree. I'm actually in technology, so I'm a technologist, and for my entrepreneurship journey, I got into that by honestly having a servant's heart, like I'm sure a lot of us do. And I really started my business with my best friend and my business partner, and we decided to help individuals create businesses. That was the start of that was the start. We said, hey, people need to understand taxes. They need to understand business structure. And so, when you get into jargon, sometimes there are big words, there are statutes, there are entities you need to deal with. And so we decided to start a business to help educate our community on some of these scary words and terms and just break it down for them in a digestible way. So that's how I got started into entrepreneurship. From young, I've always had a business brain. So that's honestly one of our slogans within our business. We come to people and we're your business brain. So we help you actually understand what to do with your business and how to take advantage of the limited liability you may have, or if you need a business, a actual for-profit or a nonprofit, S corp, et cetera. We go through those things to actually educate the people. So that's how I really got started into my business, J-Field Consulting, and it's been extrememely fulfilling, to say the least.
And freeing, comma add
Yeah,
freeing.
and freeing for sure.
So I'm curious. So you started your business with a business partner, which looks a lot different if you're just starting solo. Would you describe
Yes.
some of the variants that could exist when you are starting alone versus with a partner?
Most definitely. If anybody watches cartoons, there's two people face to face and there's this little static in the middle, like a lightning bolt. That's really what it is. You can expect that from the beginning. So get that out of your head, or put that in your head first and say, this is going to happen. It's going to be some type of friction, let's just say. But starting a business with a business partner, it has its pros and cons, because some of the pros is you do have somebody who's equally as invested and interested in the idea. So you get to bounce ideas off of one another. You get some kind of instant feedback. They may think of things that you haven't. So that's super positive. And on the end, additionally, it allows you to, it's a little bit easier, in my opinion, because when you start as a business for yourself, a lot of people think that being a sole proprietor is the same as being like a LLC, like a limited liability. So people think that, hey, you still have this limited liability, even though you're a sole owner in your business. So I think in terms of like the liability split and just that structure, it allows for less of that confusion because you are in a partnership, and that partnership will be, you know, be sectioned under the limited liability structure. So, and then like the cons of having a business partner are um, kind of similar to the pros, where you might have a great idea and that person might say, no, I don't like that, or readjust it. And so now you might feel like your creativity is stifled, or you can't do things that you want to do because you do have somebody else that you need to consider. Um, and then I think for me or us in our business, because we took the time to actually learn business and learn partnership agreements and understand that, hey, from the beginning, we're going to do things 50-50. You take this role and these responsibilities. I'll take this role and these other responsibilities. We were able to prevent a lot of the issues that may come with partnership, which is like disagreements about money or disagreements about what happens in with certain assets or anything like that. So I definitely think it's a nice balance. And especially because the type of business we had, so consulting is like, I'll take some calls, he'll take some calls. If he can't make a certain event or to a certain client, I'll do it. And we just kind of were able to really treat it like a partnership. And it's every day is not, they say in like relationships where every day is not 50-50. Some days it might be 10-90 and 80-20. Like that's literally what it is. So going into it with that mindset was helpful.
So I want to circle back on a couple of things that you mentioned, and I want to leap into some of the work. So unpack for those who may be solopreneurs and really talk about what I share in my coaching about the variants that come from being a true solopreneur and your designations versus having the liability coverage through the start of the LLC. Can you unpack that a bit?
Yeah, definitely. So this is a big thing because people create the LLC, and this is what we saw because we started the business pre-COVID. So we've been in business for about 7 years now. So 2018 in December. Actually, our anniversary is coming up in about 7 days. So yep, December in 2018, we started our business. I was still in college. We were both I was in college and my business partner was in law school. And he was taking a tax class and he started to learn different things. We were having different conversations. So when the pandemic happened, it was a rise of small businesses. And a lot of people were saying, oh, I'm a business owner and I can just take, the government was giving out certain relief money and they were like, hey, this is all I have to do. I can go to LegalZoom and be done. Mm-hmm. And immediately we realized that's not the way. Like people are getting these pieces of paper and not actually knowing what to do with it. So that's when we really doubled down on like the education part. So the difference between like the solopreneur is you are not simply, you don't have that veil of protection just because you have the piece of paper. There are rules and procedures that you have to go through in order to accurately be classified as a LLC. Because something else that a lot of people don't realize is that the state law is what you follow when you file with the Secretary of State. But now the IRS is something totally different. And that's really where things matter a little bit more, because you want that tax designation to say that you are an entity and not an individual. Because if you're a solopreneur and you may have your piece of paper that says XYZ LLC, and that's great. But if you didn't designate certain things to the IRS and tell them that you would like to be classified as an entity, then they're not going to automatically think of that. So solopreneurs, definitely check with your business coaches and business consultants to make sure that you're properly set up.
And I want to do a comma add because I do a lot of business development work out of the state of New York. And I get a lot of businesses who think it's really sexy to operate out of Delaware. and then want to do business here in the state of New York. So to your point about state laws do matter, right? And even with more within New York State, there's a comma and with the LLC with publications. So usually when I work with small businesses and they're thinking about that process, the one couple of things I ask them, I was like, did you do your publication? They like, what? They
Right,
like,
right.
they like, huh? And I'm like, get it in, right? That's my biggest thing. So there is an important, to your point, process of really understanding why you're doing this, how you want to be taxed, and the goals that you have around it. But it's also state rule. Like we got to follow the rules.
You have to follow the rules.
It's not we start at LLC on Monday and then by Friday we bust in a million. If you get that code, you better tell me.
Yeah, tell me too, because I need it.
Tell
But
us.
yes, yes.
It's not like that, right, Terrell? Tell them it's not like that.
No, it's not at all. And that's why, these services, they may be quick and easy and fast, and you think it's, oh, in no time I'll have my stuff. But if you don't know what to do with it, it doesn't really matter.
It does not really matter.
Yeah, I think that hands-on approach is very important, especially for individuals, in the, you're from Brownsville, I'm from East New York. So our communities, we got a pretty low AMI, we have our own issues. So I definitely wanted to take the time to make sure people understand what they're getting into, because sometimes it doesn't make sense. Actually, people think they need a business and you actually don't. A big thing that we also saw during the COVID time was individuals mistaking a brand for a business. So you can have a brand, which is just a name. You can even have a logo, but that doesn't mean you're a business. So these are a few things that people need to just be aware of and take into account.
All right, so I'm going to dig a little bit deeper, right? With the clients, typical clients, right? So again, we neighbors, right? In terms of where we come from. Is there a different approach when working with individuals from our communities versus others for you and with your brand?
I wouldn't say the approach is different. No, I think that I like to meet people where they're at. So if you have a little bit more business acumen, then I wouldn't waste our time talking about the difference between a nonprofit and a for-profit. You might already know that. If you already have your bank account set up or your EIN, we don't have to go over that. We can move on to like funding and making sure you've done your taxes and doing more of the administrative work. So I wouldn't say that the approach is different, but I like to figure out in the first few minutes of the conversation just your level of comfort and level of understanding or knowledge about business and as a whole. And then from there, I like to ask certain questions and say, get a feel for where you're at, and then also get a feel for where you want to go. Because I think that a lot of times, or I don't want to say a lot of times, but very often people don't actually know where they want to go. They just are throwing ideas out there, or they're just saying, well, hopefully I can quit my job and do it with my business. Okay, so what do you need to get there? Like what does that look like? Do you need a storefront? Do you need some marketing? Do you need a photographer? It's so many little things that people sometimes either have this grand goal that they want to get to, don't know how to, or they have all of these things they think they need to do with no end goal in sight. And so it's like, okay, we're going to do all of these things, but we don't want to spin the circles and not get anything out of it. So I don't approach clients differently based on where they are. I may have a little bit more knowledge if we can connect in a more personal way about, just assuming that your experience is similar to what my experiences or individual experience I've worked with in the past from that area. But I think generally I treat everybody with the same level of curiosity and attempt to figure out exactly where their end goal is so we can work to get there.
That's awesome. And so, and looking at your background, so I know that you mentioned that you have, some technical consulting and civic innovation in your background.
Yes.
So, how do you marry those things, or do you marry those things within your current business?
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. I think that that's something actually I pride myself on a lot in terms of marrying and making all of these industries coexist with one another. So, from the technology standpoint, there are um, when we consult different individuals who may be in a technology space or just in a general small business space, I tend to be able to have that edge in terms of you may need some type of data protection, or you may need to look into a certain type of platform to do this need. There are platforms and things that are just in standards or more popular than others, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they fit the mesh or the molding of that specific business owner. So I do enjoy meshing that together with the general consulting. And then for civic engagement, um, that is really where I use both my tech experience and business experience together, because something I learned that I actually expressed. I went to a nonprofit conference in my neighborhood earlier in the year, like around March, and the local council member had it. It was great. It was a great experience, and I learned. I became frustrated at myself because I graduated from North Carolina A&T, so I left to go to school, and then I didn't come back right away. I went and got a job. I was living in Philly, and you know, the typical thing coming from certain neighborhoods, or even just in general, just leaving your hometown, you leave, you don't actually pour into the place you came from. You leave, and because you think it's better over there. And so we spent a lot of time tapping into external communities, like through college and through friends we made, and trying to get clients like that. But then I came back home and started to be more involved in the community, and then I went to that event, and I heard people's issues, and I heard it was a woman there that literally said she got a free nonprofit, didn't do certain paperwork, so she lost the status, and so she had to redo everything, and then she had to pay for it out of pocket. And I was just like, oh, like all we had to do was connect. And if I could have just educated you on those little small things, like, hey, fill out this paperwork. Sometimes that's all it is. It looks scary, looks like a bunch of words and phrases and terms, but they just need you to check a few boxes and put your signature on it, send it back in. So um, I like when I do civic engagement. I think that I'm able to mesh things very well because of the issues that I see in the community that can be solved with a little bit of education, a little bit of innovation. So, like, I just created a small website for my community, like the community board, because things are relatively outdated. There are a lot of paper, lots of paper trails. So every meeting is at least 10 to 20 flyers that people are, shout outs to the community board. They have the folder for you. You put it in, you get your information, you good to go, you go home. But we live in a digital age. Even like the youth and trying to get them more involved, you have to grow with the times. So I created something that allows us to digitize those flyers and then put it on just a homepage, similar to Instagram, or just a site to have all of your information, like in an Eventbrite of sorts. So you can just scroll through it and see the event, what time, what date, and it's just for like the community board. So that's all that'll be on it. That's all that's focused on it. And then another community member went out and got a small business or business directory from different individuals in the neighborhood. So that's great. Let's collaborate. Let's combine it. So put his directory on the website so people can go to one place and just have a centralized hub of information. So that's how I utilize and mesh all of the expertise kind of together to build a solution.
I love, right, because you're tapping into my soul, because that's one of the ways that I got my introduction to government contracting. Was I
Nice.
was on the community board 16, shout out to
Okay. Nice.
Brownsville.
Yep. Yep.
And I have to tell you that the then community board chairperson was like, we need to do an MWBE symposium. I was like, what? What's that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I have a skill of project management. So to me, that was just curation of an event. That's all it
Right.
was.
Right.
And connecting residents to a nucleus, which was a church or another community center where we can actually host it.
Mm-hmm.
And was born out of that, me getting certified. But also what came out of that was we wound up creating something called the Brownsville Minute, which was a digital space that provided information.
Nice.
And the curious thing I have about that is, how do you, while you are doing what you are called to do, because I always think it's a calling, you have to have a special gift to do this type of work. I don't care what anyone says, because it is something where you see a need, but sometimes the conversion is a little bit longer than if it was in another market. So I'm
Yes.
curious as to how do you manage that, right? What does
Yeah.
that look like specifically for your space?
No, definitely. So my transparent statement is I had to adjust. So coming from a more corporate background or a background that moves fast, like a startup background, things move and change rapidly, and there are just certain structures. That's just how it is in an industry. Um, as you mentioned, the turnaround time or the delivery may be a little bit more slow. It might be, there's sometimes there's knowledge barriers, there's different red tape, it's lots of blockers that can come up. And how I adjusted to that was honestly just, well, I had to learn what public service looks like. I had to learn what community work actually is. And as I learned these things, I did find myself getting confused at the very beginning, because I just said, hey guys, I point out an inefficiency. I say, this is a solution for it. And they say, cool. And I'm just like, no, we have to do something. And they're just like, not really, or we have to do this first, or go talk to this. And I was just like, wow, this is insane. And it's not that people don't want to improve. It's not that they don't want the solution. But again, in this particular realm, that's just how things work. So I did have to learn and, realize that it's not me per se in terms of my presentation, but more so just how things go in this particular industry. And so, I think it was like a learning more of the ins and outs of how to do business within the community, and then also going back to my original reason for doing it, which is just to help people, just to be a beam of hope, a light of a resource for individuals, because I care about my community. So it was less about, it was like, use the business mindset to get things done, but it's not like I'm looking for the business here, to say I'm not going to do anything if it's not for a profit. I'm not going to, you didn't respond to my email in a certain time, so that's just it. Just being a little bit more compassionate, and just holding the hands and taking my time to get things done. But it was an adjustment, but I had to learn, and I get it now. So that's why I just do what I can, and where I fix the things that I see broken, because I care about it. So it's just out of the kindness of my heart of sorts.
Yeah.
But in that, and then I will just add something, is that in doing things out of the kindness, people do identify your skill sets. They do see that you're capable of doing certain things. So the opportunities don't stop. They actually multiply by doing things just in the community because you saw something. It's like picking up trash, or putting the dishes in the dishwasher because the sink is full. Like it's little small things that people will notice and then say, hey, I see that you are capable of doing XYZ, so why don't you do XYZ over here?
I feel the whole vibe and energy because I know, and still as a part of our activity and engagement is social impact. I spend a lot of time advocating um, behind the scenes. Like I'm really not a front person, even though you're in business, you're supposed to be. But I think a lot of the advocacy comes from when I'm thinking about those who are in my community who, one, may not have access to capital. There are, limited amount of um, financial institutions in our neighborhood. And
Yes.
how do you have the conversation to say that you want to take out, lines of credit, or I need funding to fund this dream, when the overarching community may not have all of what is there? It does, but you have to really dig and build the type of relationships that you're looking for. And it comes so differently, right? Interestingly enough, I think about, some of what is in existence, right? We have certain type of businesses that gets born out of our communities, right? Does that make them in business, a viable business, profitable?
Right.
Believe it or not, yes. They just need different type of things that you mentioned,
like
that will,
structure.
right, more structure behind it. But that doesn't mean that their pockets are not getting lined. I've definitely seen a couple of cases, and I'm like, oh, you need to do X, Y, and Z in order to sustain this, friend. And then once you break down to your point about, and there's another thing that immediately came up. It's not just always, what you say, it's your level of consistency when we show up within our community, such as, because, it's interesting. We've gone from corporate to college to coming back to the community, and we see like all that's existing on the outside and wondering, how can we line or build the communities that we see outside, right? It's beauty from within. We just have to connect the dots, right?
Yes, and that's something big that drove me to be more civically engaged, is that people come in, businesses, corporations, investors, etc. They come in to your home and they see the gold. It's like you're sitting on the gold, you talk to the gold every day, you smell the gold, you hang out in the gold, and then somebody comes in and says, oh, wow, look at this gold, and they just take it from you. And you're like, whoa, I didn't know that was gold. Why'd you take that? And it's too late, because we, have to put on a different set of lens to really understand the things that we have. So yeah, I 100% understand, and that's really what drives me, because I think that we have the ability to be very self-sustaining in general, and I just think it takes those little frameworks, it takes that certain structure, it takes that coach consultant to come in and say, hey, you're doing really good, just tweak this, move this here, say it in this way, and try again. And I believe very strongly in each one teach one, iron sharpens iron. So these are just things that I think, we will be a lot better together than trying to do everything, in siloed ways on our own.
Okay, I got another question for you. Trust. How do you break down or get individuals that you're supporting to trust you?
I think support is a big thing. So I think when we talk about, somebody that is doing something on their own and has been for such a long time, they tend to feel like they don't need certain things. They don't need anybody. They don't need anybody else. They don't need any help. They don't need any type of assistance per se. And I think the trust comes from, to your point, the consistency of, continuing to show up for them and be interested in what they're doing. being involved and following up and things. So, and then overall is like showing your expertise, showing your stuff, showing that you know what you're talking about or what you're doing. And I say all of that, but then I'll give a flip is also don't be too overwhelming, right? You may really want to work with somebody. You may really see their vision. They might be doing something wrong. It's just killing you inside that you just have to help. But don't be too pushy because at the end of the day, it is their business. And so that's what I tell a lot of my clients too, is like, I'll remind you, I'll follow up, I'll be present, but I can't run your business for you. So I do need you to respond to my email. I do need you to, when we set up a call, have those action items done, looked at, or another step to it. Like, let's talk about it. But, if you come to the call and you're like, I didn't do anything, I don't know anything, what should I do next? Like, hey, I sent you the list already. Let's get through that list and then we can move on, because at the end of the day, nothing ever grew and nothing grows without structure, right? We can do that from a little baby to a community to a business to anything in the world. Nothing happens unless there's a structure that's followed. So that's what I think about trust. I think that it's a balance between being interested but also focusing on yourself as well, because you need to keep your ball rolling, keep doing what you're doing, so you give them opportunity to also see what you have going on, to seek you a little bit as well, so it becomes like a mutual type of experience, because you can't force
So now,
anybody to do anything. You can't force anybody to work with you.
but I guess I'm a little bit more. I'm like, if we're gonna dance together, right? We're gonna move the same way, because a lot of times it becomes, you don't want, especially when you're doing business development, you want people to grow, right? So my challenge is always is, where do you see yourself realistically in the next year? If you see yourself the same way in 2025, which we're in right now, December, then what we doing here? We not dancing. We not doing the same thing together. So that's some of the things that I typically push. But I'm curious about, some of the other things, like you're in what I call a combined industry. What are some of the things that you see that are rapidly changing that you can offer to those who may be getting started?
Yeah. So I think a big thing is technology, honestly. So the things that are rapidly changing is tech, in terms of the AI, in terms of these agents, in terms of the the rapid growth of this industry, and people kind of being nervous about it because they don't actually understand what it offers or how to take advantage of it. So I think that something that I offer is just that tech background, because again, because things are a trend doesn't necessarily mean you need to be involved in it, because you might actually overcomplicate your business by trying to keep up with something that doesn't actually involve you. So I think that that's rapidly changing in that regard, but then also in the business regard of funding. I think lots of people get, when you're in the outside looking in, you think funding comes from just an application, and that is a part of it. But you need to make sure your documentation is correct, because I've had an experience where somebody did win a grant, but they didn't file taxes in the last year. So now they're like, oh well, you can't. They can't actually, in good faith, give you the money, because corporations have to do their due diligence as well. So, there are situations, and then even on a more personal scale, I've had individuals who were looking to buy a home. They get to the last step, but then they don't have their credit, or not their credit, but like their documentation in order, to where they can just simply, they win the bid, or whatever the case may be, but they can't capitalize on it because their foundation wasn't correct. So that's really what I built a lot, or I think that I or know that we offer is just that structure, that ability to do a review and an audit of your business to make sure that you have these things to reach your goals. Because funding is something that's continuously coming up, and individuals think that it's funny because it's two spectrums. They either think they need a whole lot more to get it, or they think they don't need anything to get it. And we have to bring them to that middle. So I think that's not rapidly changing, but we do a lot of research and development. So when we come across a client that may also fall into an intersection of, let's just say, art and technology, or real estate and business development, what's going on in your community and other communities, in the government, in the private industry, that you can attach to be able to advocate, to start talking in that language. Because as soon as you speak in that language, now these corporations and these entities are now looking at you a little bit more, a little bit different. So that's really what we offer in terms of ever-changing industries. And I think that's attributed to me being in an intersection industry. I feel like I need to stay up to date with technology, real estate, even emerging industries. So we talk about AI. We worked with a lot of cannabis brands because now in New York is legal. So the justice involved individuals filling out those applications, they don't know what to do. And another big thing is preparation for before you go to a lawyer, before you go to an accountant, before you go to somebody that's going to charge you $500 an hour. You come to us, we'll go through a few of your things, we'll sort it out, we'll give you the questions that you need to ask before you get there, because if you only got 1 hour, you want to get that done as quick as possible. And so that's really what we offer in terms of being fluid, being nimble, and being able to stay on top of these ever-changing industries or initiatives that come down from wherever they come.
That's really good to know. What has surprised you the most about being an entrepreneur?
Well, what surprised me the most? That's a good question. Let me think.
Right, well,
I guess
I can lend my experience while you're
yeah,
thinking.
please, because I have a lot. Like it's like a bunch of thoughts just ran through my head.
Yeah, and so I can tell you what surprised me the most so far is how much I've grown as an individual. So when I say entrepreneurship is beautiful, but it's not for the faint. You can't, no. If you want to put a dream together and you want to work through it, and I'm not talking about buying a business, because I think that if I would have become aware earlier on about buying versus creating systems, I think I would have chose buying right, initially.
Sure.
So it has stretched me. When I started, I had a lot more hair.
But you still look good, so it don't matter.
So I had a lot more, but I cut it just because it's just easier to manage. But
yeah,
it takes a certain mindset that I don't think I was personally prepared for, and it's yeah. So what are your thoughts?
I think so. The first thing I was going to say is how many different types of entrepreneurship it is. So, that's not my personal experience about what might have surprised me, but in general, just to your point, buying a business, starting a business, inheriting a business, doing brick and mortar, having a software company, selling t-shirts. It's so many different avenues that you can be in. And I think that's was the most surprising to me is seeing people really take their skill set, their degree, their interest, their passion, and then turn it into something. And it all look different, and because it all looked different, something that I also pride myself in is being able to find those similarities across the board, because at the basis of business, you do just need certain things. No matter if it's McDonald's to Target to Best Buy, they all have these simple pieces of paper and structures and frameworks that they operate within. So that was something, I think that was one of the biggest things that surprised me, is realizing that an entrepreneur is not that much different from a big box business. It's really not. It's just about how many people you have and how much money you have. Other than that, at the root of it, it's all really the same. So I think that was probably one of the biggest wow moments, because you get into the glitz and glamour of the commercials and the marketing, and you're like, oh, I can't be that. You can be that. You can have a 10-person business that has a for-profit arm and a nonprofit arm, and you can run your foundation through here, and you can, fund the foundation through the for-profit. It's so many different ways to do business and you're not restricted to any of them. You can do all of these things. I think that if I had to pick one thing, that's what it would be, is that really realizing that it's no difference between a corporation and a LLC, besides size.
Right. So I'm gonna ask you more of a personal. I want you to think back to the first person who purchased from you. How did that make you feel?
Honestly, it made me feel like, wow, like we can do this. Like it was very empowering. It was empowering, and then immediately got nerve-wracking, because I realized that this is the first time I'm doing this, and I have to, and then what's the system that we actually, because you can think all day, you can implement, you put it together all day, but until you actually have to do it, now you're like, oh wait, okay, should we send this email first, or do we send, how many follow-ups until we call them? Like, should the heading of the email be like this or like that? And so many, should we use PayPal, or what if we use it's so many little different things that when it comes at the time, you're like, whoa, okay, this is happening. So that's really what it felt. It felt super fulfilling. So it felt empowering. It felt like I can, and it made like my brain just start rapidly thinking, oh, what's next? Okay, how can we expand on this? How can we do this again? How can we duplicate and make this how can we scale this? That was really how I felt, and from then, the ball just kept rolling in terms of different ideas and different ways we can do things. But something I will add quickly is that we also had to learn, don't grow too wide too quick, because you want to do a lot and you're interested and you think you have capacity until you don't. And so we also learned that. But that first client definitely lit a fire, and just a snowball effect of ideas and how to scale, etc.
And I'm glad you shared that openly, because a lot of times, when you're creating something, I can think back to my first government contract, and I just remember it came through from a community member who said, oh, this is too small for us. And I'm like, $40,000. I'm like, okay. So I remember applying, and I remember putting it into the atmosphere, not having a know-how to do it, right? Mm-hmm. And they selected us, and I was like, oh, now what do I do with this, right? Mm-hmm. But my mindset was, and I remember, because I was able to hire on, which made me super happy. I don't know what it was about, like, oh my gosh, I get to pay someone outside of myself. Sometimes I didn't get paid. I didn't pay myself sometimes, right? So I wanted to acknowledge that as well. But I also wanted to share that my mindset was, I got this one contract, I'm gonna work this like it's $1 million.
Yes.
And eventually it happened that I got contracts such as that. Mm-hmm. But it just made me believe, and to your point, and I loved how you shared that, the excitement of someone, it takes one person to believe in you.
Yeah, that's it.
It just takes one. Mm-hmm. And it lights something inside you that goes, even though you're scared, mm-hmm. even though you may not have all the systems, it's about figuring out. So I love how you shared, honestly, that things were not perfect in the beginning.
No.
And failure is always a part of the process, that we like, oh, we can't fail. That's your first attempt in learning. That's what I believe it is.
Yeah, I agree. You have to fail quick, iterate, reapply. And I think that also attributes to like my technical background because sometimes my friends they call me a mad scientist. I used to have a bunch of hair and stuff. So, but it's like we have to go through the scientific method. We have to have a theory, we apply it, and test it, and then we say, okay, did this work? Did it not? No, scrap it, try it again. And so that's how I honestly live a lot of my life, and just doing things within certain guidelines that are predetermined as correct, and then seeing how it works, adding my own little spin to it, and then being fluid enough to say, hey, that didn't work, let's scrap it quick. We're not going to dwell and say, oh no, when's the next opportunity, let's fix up, let's do it again. So yeah, that's definitely how business is not perfect in the beginning, but you can't be afraid to fail, because if you're too afraid to fail, you'll never start.
This ain't for you. Neither is parenthood. I say that. I say two things: entrepreneurship and parenthood.
Yeah, right.
I'm doing both, and I still don't know how. Right,
and it's different for everybody. So it's a book on business, but it's not a book on your business. It's not a book on your life. It's not a book on what you need to specifically do, because everybody has a very specific set of skills. Everybody has a certain special thing to them that they can contribute. So people aren't you, so don't worry, just do it.
And people aren't you, so you got to do it. You have no choice, because each of us have, I believe, a gift that is specifically ordained for all of us. So, Terrell, we are almost at time, but this was a juicy conversation.
Yes, this is great.
I had no idea, but I'm glad we connected through Benny. Shout out to Benny.
Shout out to Benny.
let me just say this, right? So in my other hat, I serve as a business advisor for the LDC in East New York. Shout out to East New York and the work that they're doing there. And Benny has come on, and you need a Benny in your life, because Benny he's somebody you need to know.
Yeah, he's like a magic maker. He does it all. He makes it happen. He's great, honestly. Like, and you can tell it's all from the heart. Like it's just pure. It's like, hey, I thought of this thing. I thought about you. Here you go. I'm just like, wow, like that's truly amazing. So shout outs to Benny for sure.
Benny be painting me out to be a celebrity. I'll be like, Benny, stop it. Like, I'm telling you, and I'll be like,
yep.
Thank you, Benny. Thank you to Camille and the whole team, Bill, at the LDC in East New York. And I'm gonna plug, if you're looking for mentoring, business development services, go to the EAC in Brooklyn. I know it's many out there, but we have a special sauce that we have as a team that we work through. And Terrell can tell you, because we know Benny.
Yes.
So in wrapping up, what advice would you give entrepreneurs who are looking to, one, integrate some of the systems that you elevated, right, through AI, but really do not know where to start?
Yeah. The first thing I'll say is don't overcomplicate it. Don't feel the need to implement something because it's a trend. Lots of people are scaring themselves and not necessarily like the fear isn't prevalent to you specifically right now. But in terms of how to leverage AI is understanding exactly what you want to solve, understand exactly what problem or what bottleneck are you having, what blocker are you having. And once you can fully identify that problem, then you can look for solutions. I think people tend to solution and then look for the problem. And that's where lots of waste happens, in terms of you wasting your time because you're trying to make something fit that doesn't, or you're just wasting your energy trying to build something, or your money because you're paying somebody and you have this system that you don't actually plan on using. So the first thing I say is definitely identify your problem, and then you can explore the services that are out there to circumvent that problem. And then another thing I say is it's okay to spend the money for somebody who knows how to do it, because with AI, with these chatbots and things, people are like, oh, I could just whip it up in a second. Not saying you can't, but sometime it might be better to let somebody else deal with it so you can continue to focus on what you're focusing on. Because now, if it takes you 3 weeks to build something and that took away from your business operations, or you stayed up late to build it, and I'm not saying that you can't, but sometime it may be better to just let someone else do it, take care of it. And it's okay. People have contracts all the time. Large corporations, they contract out. It's normal. Don't worry. So yeah, those are the few things I say in terms of leveraging AI. Don't be afraid of it, but don't overthink it. It's a complex thing, but it's moving so fast. It's okay to breathe, digest it a little bit, and don't take every headline at face value.
Because it could be AI.
Because it could be AI. So, and it might change in 24 hours. I've seen headlines come out on my app, and then it contradicts itself right after. And I was like, wow, you can't even look at news. You need a 24-hour news cycle, not the by-the-minute news cycle. So
that's why I mind my business and look at things at the end of the day, because
there you go.
If I get caught up, then I get caught. So, Terrell, before you head out, I want to thank you for sharing, information. This was such a I like good conversations. It causes me to think about, some of the ways I need to improve. But before you go, I got some rapid questions for you.
Sure.
You ready?
Yes, I hope so.
What are you doing for self-care these days?
I learned that self-care, I like to bring things into a simple framework. So the simple thing is I have hobbies. That's what I do for self-care. So I learned that if anybody feels confused, sad, down, etc., go back to what you were doing in 5th, 6th grade. You ate lunch, you woke up early, you had something to do, you had an extracurricular. Just do that, and then do that for a little bit, and then see where your life is after that. But that's what I do for self-care. I snowboard, so I just went snowboarding on Sunday, so feeling good.
All right. So my next question is, do you prefer smoothies or ice cream?
Smoothies.
Sneakers or shoes?
Sneakers.
Pizza or burgers?
That's a harder one. It has to be a good burger or a good pizza. I like the wood grilled pizza, and then I like a smash burger. So
yeah. Yeah. 3 years. 3 years. Where's J-Field LLC going? 3 years.
In 3 years, J-Field LLC will be a full service research and development company. So we'll do market research for these industries. We'll be the ones that you come to do your data integration and assessments and surveys, etc. We believe in data, good data, and creating a story out of the data that works for you. So that's what we're working toward, and that's what we'll be in 3 years, being the hub for good, solid information.
And I'm all for, and I look forward to that. So we can find you where, Terrell? Where can we find you?
My personal Instagram is TJB4, the number 4 NYC, and then the business is Jfield USA. So JAYFIELD USA.
I know y'all all on the socials, but for us old folks, there still is a website.
There is a website, yes. jfieldllc.com. Very straightforward.
Awesome. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Look forward to having you again soon. And yeah, this was good stuff. Shout out to Terrell and his team for dipping over to the real journey of entrepreneurship. I love when I have good conversations. And
thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining. Take good care.
You too. Have a good one.
All right, bye-bye. Friends, friends, I love it. I'm telling you, I'm full. My stomach is aching right now. But I'm gonna tell you that here we go. Some of Terrell's tips. Don't overcomplicate, identify the need. And guess what, friends? It is okay to spend on things that you or may not be strong in, right? You do not have to do every single thing by yourself. You can connect with Terrell. You can go to Instagram, um, JField USA, or check out the website, jfieldllc.com. And I'm going to tell you, good stuff, good stuff, good stuff. But I also want to share, right? As we have entered into, this is the last month at the time of this filming, it is December 2025. And there are a couple of things that I can think about, just in sharing, being intentional about where you are planning to go, right? I did a workshop earlier today about mindset, and setting realistic boundaries for yourself, right? For yourself and for your business, and to be very strategic and thoughtful on where you want to go, right? I love how Terrell mentioned the importance of, you know, not growing and scaling too fast without tapping into or having the appropriate resources that are needed to help you to grow and to help you to sustain where it is that you're visioning, right? Having access to capital, having resources, network is super, super important. So I just want to share, some tips on networking, right? Whatever resources that you're willing to share them, right? Some of it, especially in the space that I'm in, is public information. And so a simple Google search, or you can tap into 11375 to be able to help you to navigate those spaces, right? Grow your business acumen, right? I cannot express enough the importance of taking time to conduct research. It is no longer acceptable, right, for you as you're growing your business to state that I just don't know. And when I mean I just don't know, I'm talking about in terms of building your business. There is tons of resources, your local, state, and municipality, and also a portion of your tax dollars goes into providing services such as the entrepreneurial centers that exist pretty much everywhere. I happen to be connected to an EAC out of an organization which I began my business journey as an EAC client. And I happen to have sat through a number of free workshops, dragged my daughter here, going to business meetings because I just really wanted to know, because I wanted to learn, right? But at some point, you have to really step into that space where you're continuously learning and making mistakes, right? Don't be afraid of that, but continuously going and building relationships, intentional relationships. But you definitely got to build your knowledge base. And that's in the internet. And now with the introduction to the masses, and AI helps us to build our knowledge base, right? Shift your mindset, right? Into, instead of thinking what you cannot have, think about how you can and grow with that, right? Think about if it's something that's non-existent within your space, think about what do you need to do to get there. Create, be creative. And then the last thing in terms of like overall networking is expand your network with intentionality and with like-minded individuals, right? Follow up. We're inundated with emails and direct messages, and it's just weird, right? So figure out your plan of action and your strategy to elevate your visibility in business so that you can get a yes. And so I'm excited to have you like, share, and follow us, right? Because we're in this space of connecting resources, A lot of the resources that we share is out there, right? But we just try to bring it together so that it makes it easier for you to discover. But I got to ask, right? If you are interested And we're looking for individuals to share their story. We have a link that you see in the back. It's a QR code, just to gain access to learning more about you. So if you want to join us, please don't hesitate. We don't bite. We make it nice and easy for you to come out, to join, to hang out with us. But we want to talk to you, right? And we hope that you are willing to share a realistic story about what it means to be in this space. Also note that we air the episodes on Mondays at 7:05. But if you're interested in being on the show, we have a couple of codes, and also you can check us out to join us. Also wanted to share that we have a few webinars that we are hosting monthly, twice a month, that we have been actively providing information and resources. Again, connecting resources, talking about, and providing strategies within certain spaces. Those who may still be interested in launching into government contracts. We've been talking about that. We've been talking about, different ways that you can integrate AI within your practice. So I hope you join us, right? Because why not, right? Why not? So if you're interested, you can, check out our webinars at 11375, but you can join us by registering for those webinars. And on that note, I want to say thank you for taking the time to watch this episode. I'm full and I'm going to get out of here. Thank you so much for joining. Take good care. Bye-bye. Welcome to 11375. My name is Anita Pierce, and I am your Chief Experience Officer. At 11375, we offer strategic alignment solutions specific to you and your business goals, and also connecting everything with social impact. So if you are looking for a really amazing organization where we help you to focus your strategy and connecting it with social impact, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We are on all the social platforms, and you can contact us at 11375.
I tried to stand tall, but I never stood a chance. How selfish of me to want them to see me as I am. I'm over this, man. I can see the envy from under the mask they're in. How could I expect a pat on the back in a place they wanted to stab me? What are you talking about specifically? Why do I wish temporary feelings could last again? Why does my future need me to refer to the past again? Naysayers checking in by the minute. It's eating up in my time. And then they always need me to paint a picture after I draw the line. I'm sorry. I drifted from the question. No problem at all. Therapy is new for me. I don't think I've ever had a conversation that I felt included me. Well, that's why it's like we define things that exist without meaning. But getting back to your question, you asked, what am I thinking? Yes. I think so freely as I stare at this ceiling. I think the poison replaced what's meant for healing. I think depression is on the other side of elevating. I think depression hides inside those that are celebrating. I can see that. I think the bars that we're rapping are building our own cage. I think my father never thought about me. And what do I feel? I think rage. I think everyone around me can hear what I'm thinking, so I never blink once or think twice about over drinking. Let's calm down. I think it's humble of me to say that I'm the greatest. I think so much of me, but I'm taught to never say it. I think my identity exists with multiple borders, but when they can't understand it, it's labeled a disorder. I understand. I think the media and my social life are at a point of no return. I think they're entitled to just people that never even learn to earn. Mr. Calm down. I think truth. Calm down. There's one thing that I know. Let me ask you this question. If everything you think is true, How will you ever grow? I never thought about that. Probably for my own protection. It's funny how a view of yourself can be shattered by your own reflection.